Basic electrical safety. In the Faculty of Sustainable Design Engineering, working with electricity and electronics is done every day. Whether you are soldering a connection, analyzing a circuit, or simply plugging in a piece of equipment, you should be aware of basic electrical safety. This video will introduce the hazards associated with electricity and teach you how to work safely. Note that all rules and guidelines introduced in the FSDE General Laboratory Safety video will apply here. Always assess the hazards associated with your work and wear the appropriate PPE. Hazards. There are 3 primary hazards associated with electricity: electric shock, arcing, and blast. Electric shock is the sudden physiological stimulation that occurs when electricity passes through the body. This is the most common hazard and will be the primary focus of this video. Electric arc is a potential hazard that can occur when high voltage sources release energy through the air. It is typically caused when a conductor, such as a metal or the human body, is brought near a high voltage source or conductor. An electric arc can cause blindness and fatal burns at distances of over 10 feet away. Avoid placing or carrying conductors near other live sources, and always talk to a technician before working with sources above 24 V. Electric blast is an explosion that can be caused by an electric spark or an arc igniting a fuel. Never use electronics that may cause a spark when working in an explosive environment. Avoiding electric shock. The severity of shock is dependent on the amount of energy transferred to the human body. Typically, this means higher voltages are more dangerous, as they can drive more current into the body in a shorter period of time. While all electricity sources should be respected, special care must be taken when working with higher voltages. If you are working with wiring at voltages above 24 volts, consult a technician. To avoid an electric shock, you must not become part of an electric circuit. The safest approach is to always disconnect the power source before working with electrical conductors, whether by switching off a disconnect, turning off the breaker to the circuit, or removing the battery. You should confirm that the wiring or instruments you are working with are not energized with a meter before making contact. Lock out, tag out. When working on dangerous equipment, or when equipment is damaged and dangerous to operate, it is best to disconnect the power supply to the equipment to ensure your safety. To signal to another person that the equipment is down and prevent them from reconnecting power to the equipment while you're working on it, always lock out the equipment. Locks and tags are readily available in the labs for locking out equipment and labeling with your name and the problem. Never remove another person's lock, as they may be working on the equipment, and they could be at risk of serious injury or worse if the equipment is powered on. If the person who locked out the equipment cannot be found, consult with a technician. Labeling wiring. When wiring equipment, it is important to follow the CSA color coding standard so that others who eventually need to use or work on the wiring understand the connections made. While it is not necessary to memorize the standard colors, you should always refer to the standard when working with electrical wires. For DC wiring, 2-wire is indicated by black and red. 3-wire is indicated by black, red, and white. For AC wiring, the ground line is green or green with yellow stripes. The neutral line is white, and the live wires are black or red for single phase and red, black, and blue for 3-phase. Do's and don'ts. To summarize several key things to remember: consult with a technician when working with voltages greater than 24 volts. Always wear safety glasses when soldering or working with electrical equipment. Do not use damaged electrical equipment. If you find electrical equipment that has been damaged, alert a technician. Always obey warnings to stay away from electrical circuits and locked out equipment. Always refer to the CSA color coding standards when wiring or maintaining equipment. Do not use frayed, damaged, or exposed wires. They expose you to electric current. Do not insert a plug into an outlet that does not match. Do not yank electrical cords out of the outlet. Do not lay anything metal over something that may hold an electric current, such as the nodes of a battery. Do not leave open water containers or water sources near electronics. Do not wear metal jewelry when working with electric components. Do not touch a live power line that is submerged in water or lying in a puddle. Conclusion. In engineering, it is impossible to avoid working with electricity. From connecting and operating equipment to wiring instrumentation and soldering circuits. However, we must remember that even a small current can be hazardous. If you see someone working unsafely in the lab, please let them know or alert a technician. If everyone works together, we can keep our work safe, productive, and injury-free.